This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I hate remakes and sequels and reboots just as much as the next film YouTuber. They're pointless, they lack any sort of creativity and originality. When their animation turned into live action, they're just absolutely awful. It's like they aren't even trying to hide the fact that they only exist to make more money. They just keep happening. And obviously it's annoying. But at this point, this is a pretty easy target, and I genuinely have nothing to add to this rant that hasn't already been addressed. Plus, people forget that there are tons of half-decent and even great sequels/remakes. Sequels like Paddington 2 that are so good you should just hang it in the Louvre at this point. So I want to look at it from a more positive angle. What are some sequels and remakes that should happen? Because while I think we can all agree that Dumbo did not need to happen, there are certain films out there that definitely should, in my opinion. As a disclaimer, this is really just for fun. I'm not emotionally invested in any of these to a point where if they don't happen, I'm gonna cry about it. It's just a fun idea. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Starting things off hot, I know. B-Movie has established itself as one of the most memeable movies ever. And here's the thing, I'm definitely someone who gets irritated when studios are like, oh, you like that? It's a meme now? Well, here's way too much of it. Because it historically has always ruined the fun of that thing. But for some reason, it feels like B-Movie could pull that off with a sequel. Keep in mind, it's not like the people behind this film are stale. Keep in mind, Jerry Seinfeld started the whole thing. The original already had so much self-awareness, just imagine it now in 2019. Plus, I feel like with a concept like this, there were tons of other fun ideas and corny puns that they could have played with that they couldn't really tackle in the first one. Overall, as anti-sequel as most of us are, I feel like B-Movie could get some support behind it. I had to say it. National Treasure has been a guilty pleasure of mine since I first watched it as a kid. Whenever I'm scrolling through TV and I see it's playing, I always decide to put it on, and even now I think it's pretty fun. It's so stupid and corny and just absolutely ridiculous. Like, really? Water on the rocks? You had all these plastic water balls with you and you just happened. What? I love watching them get as ridiculous as possible with their clues. It's just so fun. I think the series was meant to be a trilogy, to be honest, because Riley's arc isn't necessarily done. Ben and his dad still feel like they have issues. There is still a good amount of meat on this thing. Plus Nick Cage now, holy shit, dude, just imagine. It would be so much fun, and knowing it's turned into somewhat of a joke, I feel like they'd play into that and get even more ridiculous with it. That's the thing, the bar is already pretty low for this film. It's not like we're expecting something great out of this. They would just need to make it kind of silly like they always have, and no problem. Now we're getting into remake territory. Now I've thought pretty hard about these remakes because again, for the most part I'm not a fan of this idea, but if there's one genre that pulls them off well and needs them, it's horror. I think a Misery remake with the right director could be really great. Misery is well known, don't get me wrong, my mom loves this movie, but compared to other Stephen King adaptations, this thing doesn't get nearly enough love. And it's a super fun story. An acclaimed novelist crashes and gets essentially held hostage by his #1 fan. Come on, who hasn't experienced this? It's a pretty basic story, so any director who latches onto it has a lot of creative freedom to go nuts with it. Like, imagine what Ari Aster would do to a story like this, or maybe even Lynn Ramsey. There's no way in hell either of those filmmakers are gonna do a Misery movie, but it's fun to fantasize. Basically, it's so simple, it's kind of hard for anyone to fuck this movie up. Hear me out. I know that the first Edward Scissorhands has its cult following and it's perfectly fine, but I think a new one wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. A lot of people could argue it's Tim Burton's best and it's the most Tim Burton movie out there, so how could anyone remake it? And while that is true, it is very Tim Burton, I can see a ton of new filmmakers putting their own twist on this. I could see someone like Yorgos Lanthimos really go in on something like this. And while we're on the topic, I'd like to see him do a lot of films. Can you imagine what he would do to Willy Wonka? A boy can dream. Anyways, sure, this may not be the most necessary on this list, but it's such a weird world full of interesting characters. I'd love to see what someone else can do with it. Now here's the thing, I know there's already been a Hoodwinked sequel, that's not what I'm proposing. I literally just want to see that original Hoodwinked done with better animation. I rewatched the original a few months ago and my god, that thing was amazing. Aside from the really shitty animation, this film was near perfect. It was hilarious compared to a lot of what you see in children's animated films. It would be absolutely pointless for them to remake something like this after it not only bombed but also only came out 14 years ago, but man, that would be great. Surf's Up is one of my favorite. Hold on, they made a sequel? What the Remaking anything by an iconic director like Hitchcock is a risky proposal because a lot of the times what made the original so great was the direction. But if there was one old school classic that could get an update, it would be Hitchcock's The Birds. Because Misery has a bit more meat to it than this, I can see this not going over as well. I say that because I feel like with better sound design, better cinematography, better visual effects, the eeriness that you got from the original Birds wouldn't be the same. So why am I saying it should get remade? I don't know, if you get someone like David Robert Mitchell to do it, it could be pretty fun. It just felt like an idea that had a lot more potential than what it got. So basically what I'm saying is it's probably the easiest film to fuck up on this list, but if it's done right, it could be a lot of fun. Listen, I know. How, right? Well, I saw this post a few weeks ago on the Karstcast subreddit that proposed Mamma Mia taking a Fast and Furious route where they keep making movies that shouldn't happen at all. And if I'm being honest, I am all in for that. I really couldn't care less about the lore of this film and who is alive and who isn't. I'm here for the music, the fun, the weirdness, the everything. I will watch literally whatever comes next, and plus the addition of Lily James's character implies a whole new generation of characters that could be introduced. They haven't even scratched the surface of ABBA's discography. I'm just saying, it doesn't even matter if these movies end up being good at all. I'm gonna be there opening night. Again, I don't see any of these ideas actually happening for money reasons and because I think I'm the only one that wants them. But as I've said multiple times in this video, a boy can dream. The idea behind a remake or a sequel isn't that bad. It's just the studios keep choosing the wrong movies to remake for a paycheck. And it's gotten to a point where it's actually taking away from original stories being made by bigger companies. If you guys liked this, let me know. Maybe I can make a part 2. But until then, I think that's it. Am I forgetting anything? No? Oh, Squarespace. Squarespace is a great place to go if you're looking to build a website, progress your brand, and do so in a really efficient way. If you're gonna make something, you want it to look good, and they have a wide selection of award-winning designer templates that'll make whatever you're making look amazing. I know what you're thinking, websites, I don't know. Don't worry, they have 24-hour customer service to help you with any problems that you have. I know what you're also thinking, money. Well, guess what? If you use my code Karsten, that's squarespace.com/Karsten, you can get 10% off of your first purchase. Folks, there's no reason for you not to try it. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to check out Squarespace, and I will see you guys in the next one.